Welcome to Toy Business Unboxed, your gateway to the secrets of the toy industry. Here, Hsieh, a toy entrepreneur and expert in the
Every
field.
product we develop is really inspired by some of the real life experience that we have with our son, major retailers.
Yeah.
Check. Is it? We think this is cool. Is this cool?
The thing with Amazon is just it become more and more complicated over the years. Yeah, maybe you can also consider to create more online resources.
We'll guide you through the enchanting world of toy design, marketing, and manufacturing. Now let the unboxing begin.
Hello. Welcome back to another Toy Business Unboxed episode. Today, we have a special guest, a talented and also toy game designer with passions for creativity and innovations. Her journey in the entrepreneur space is really a blend of art and engineering, and she's going to be on the show to share with her experience in 3D printing, 3D modeling, and also freelancing in the toy industry. We'll explore what it takes to bring a playful idea to life and discuss her unique perspective on working with both inventor and companies. So thank you so much for joining us today. And you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I'm super excited to be here. Like you said, my name is Cheyenne Raker. I have a background in both mechanical engineering and a master's in industrial design. And throughout my journey after I graduated, I was a lighting designer, and on the side, I was networking, finding people in the toy and game industry, just learning more about it and trying to tap in. And eventually I wanted to start my own business and do freelancing to do toy and game design.
Yeah. And so how long have you been doing freelancing in the toys and game design?
So freelancing, hasn't been very long. I started kind of right after I got laid off from my job. It was around October, November for a few months, but I officially launched my freelancing business in January. So been about 5 months, 4 or 5 months.
Okay. Got it. How do you like being an entrepreneur now?
Oh my gosh, I love it. But there's definitely pros and cons because I think initially I had a really hard time setting hours for myself of like, okay, I'm so used to getting up in the morning, getting my workout in, and then working all day from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. But now the timeline's on me. It's up to me to sit down and be focused and be motivated to get my work done.
100%. You don't have someone telling you what to do because you are your own boss, right?
Right. But I think what's helped me is finding, mentors in my field and just people to collaborate with because they kind of are my accountability partners, so to say.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah.
So that's been really helpful.
Got it. How did your background in both design and engineering change your approach to toy design?
I think I've definitely been more diligent in understanding the manufacturing process behind toy design.
Yeah.
What capabilities do they use? Is this a plush toy? Is this going to be injection molded?
Yeah.
What's the draft angle got to be like in a 3D model? So just understanding those types of things to get, an idea from concept to production. And also trying to figure out different mechanical mechanisms in toy design because I worked with an inventor on an item, and I think having my engineering background helped because I was looking up so many different mechanisms to get like a feature 3D printed. And it was a really cool experience to learn different techniques in 3D printing and just understand, there's different capabilities and mechanisms that can make a toy be fun.
Do you have any particular toy design that you are most proud of that you'd like to share? And maybe you have a real live item as well they can show the audience?
I sadly can't show it.
Okay.
I was working with an inventor, so I'm kind of
see.
under NDA because
I
she's
see.
pitching it to toy companies for licensing deals, and I helped
I
her
see.
idea come to life. But I can kind of explain how it worked because I'm actually really proud of it, and she's really happy with the outcome. But basically, it was kind of like a watch, so you can see on here where it would create shadows on the wall, and so she wanted it to be able to kind of be like a fidget toy, but also be able to, like collapse.
Is this like a projector kind of?
Kind of. And so the difficulty was how do we get so many little mechanisms and LED components inside of this tiny little structure. And so we
Mm.
researched and researched, went back and forth, and we found like this miniature LED component DIY thing we found from some small company. And I 3D printed so many different mechanisms to try and figure out, okay, how can I get this thing to expand and collapse over and over again
Oh.
consistently and easy for a kid to do.
Hmm.
And I got everything all compact, all inside of, it was maybe like this thick. Um,
Okay.
it was a
Yeah.
blast. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I figured this out and it works and it's durable. It actually creates shadows on the wall.
Oh,
It was
nice.
really cool just to be able to combine 3D printing in like two different materials. I used
Hmm.
um, TPU material, which is like a flexible, so it kind of, you know how my
Like a
wristband.
rubber, kind of like a flexible rubber. Okay.
Yeah, and so I used that on top of, a hard material on top of electronics. So
Hmm.
it was a bigger project than I intended, but
Hmm.
ended up being really fun just because I learned so much.
And can you explain the role of the 3D printing in your design process? Do you just print multiple different prototype and just kind of test it that way? How does your process look like?
So I definitely jump into market research first
Okay,
before even going to 3D printing because
I
I want to
see.
make sure the white space has been figured out. Is there a room for this idea? Is this
Hmm.
market saturated?
Okay,
That's the first thing I always do is make sure there's not even an idea out there like this. And then
true.
and
Yeah.
then I'll go to like sketching,
Um,
just on paper, sketching out my ideas. And then before 3D printing, I'll just do low fidelity prototypes. Sometimes I'll just
okay.
take pieces of paper and tape and pencil and
Oh, okay.
make something kind of rough looking, but it's helped me figure out the scale of how big I want this to be and
I
even help me
see.
figure out like a different mechanism. And then I'll jump into 3D modeling and 3D printing. Um, and sometimes 3D printing a prototype
Mhm.
doesn't make sense.
Mm,
It depends on the desire. Depends on the idea. Is it, you know, it just all depends. But
mhm.
I usually start from research, and then 3D printing is kind of later on once the idea has been like fleshed out and we figure out what we want to do.
I see. What would be a piece of advice you give it to the inventor or the entrepreneurs that is in our audience on the thing to think of before they start working with you, and maybe some common mistake you see?
Um, I would definitely say I've seen a lot of inventors spend too much money
Mhm.
on prototypes.
Oh,
The
okay.
more inventors I've met at toy fairs and everything like that, I just get so sad hearing how much money they spent on an idea and it's not
Mm,
getting picked up by a company, which
yeah.
is even why I started my own business because I wanted to help those inventors,
Mhm.
3D print or just make a prototype to showcase to companies because trying to get a prototype developed by like a really big company, it's going to cost thousands of dollars.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
a lot of the time I've seen inventors have great ideas, but sometimes they haven't really tested it out with kids first.
That's a good problem to that's a very important problem actually. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, we have to, even if you make the prototype yourself and it's ugly and parts of it doesn't really work, but throw it in front of a kid, and if they love it or they hate it, like they'll let you know. They're honest.
True.
And
Yeah.
even me, like I had an early stage prototype. I gave it to some kids at my church, and it actually helped my idea become better because they
Mm,
started playing with it in ways I never thought of.
thought of,
It
okay.
was like a plush toy,
Mhm.
and it was meant to just be a plush toy, but they
Yeah.
ended up reusing it and manipulating it into a hat and a puppet and
Oh,
a bag,
okay.
and
Okay, okay,
I was
okay.
like, "Oh, this is a multi-dimensional
Mm,
plush toy. This is cool."
interesting. Okay,
Um,
okay, okay.
so definitely I wish, um, they would test with kids first because I was even a judge at a STEAM toy competition.
Oh, you were? Whoa, amazing. Okay.
So it was really cool, like a bunch of engineering teams.
Yeah.
developed STEAM toy kits for kids. I think it
Yeah.
was between third graders through fifth graders,
Mm.
and they didn't test with kids beforehand, like
Mm.
while making their prototypes, and
Mhm.
they didn't meet me till after, and they're new, so they're learning, and they
Yeah.
do a really great job. I think they're growing, and this is their second year doing it.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I was telling them, even if they have like a simple prototype, like throw it in front of a kid as soon as they can,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
to
That's
flush out
important.
the issues or problems before they spend a bunch of hours on the final prototype.
Got it. That's a really good piece of advice. And I guess my next question is, what are some of the advantage of using 3D modeling in toy design?
So 3D modeling, it can either lend itself into a 3D print, or it can be sent as a file for manufacturing,
Mm.
or it can be used as an aesthetic thing where you can render the 3D model. So
Mhm.
I use Keyshot, and it's a 3D rendering material or a 3D rendering software. You take a 3D model into the software to make it look realistic. You add
Okay.
lights, shadows, materials, colors, logos, emblems, emboss, everything you could think of.
Yeah.
And so I think it allows so much variety of marketing materials or manufacturing or, prototyping. It's a really great skill set to have, and that's why I'm really grateful for my engineering background as well, because I got introduced to 3D modeling my like sophomore or junior year. And
Mm.
so when I moved to my master's, not many people had a background in 3D modeling. And so it kind of gave me a leg up.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
like having that background and like
Yeah.
coding, there was a lot of coding, and like we developed some like physical video games, and
Oh, nice.
um
Okay.
so yeah.
And my next question, you kind of touched it on it a little bit earlier. What do you wish your client understood the most about the toy design process?
I wish, at least as a freelancer, I wish they would understand a little bit more of how much time it can take to make something.
That's a good one. Yeah, because they think, oh, you could get it done next week, right?
Yeah, because I feel like if you don't know the software or you don't know how to do 3D modeling or 3D printing, you just
Yeah,
don't know the ins and outs, because sometimes
yeah.
a 3D print can fail and then you have to like redo it, and it
Mm.
can print for 14 hours and then it fails, you have to start all over again. And
Oh, wow. Okay.
um,
I
so
see.
kind of stuff like that,
Mm,
um, and just being open to feedback as well.
mm.
Sometimes people get so focused on their baby of this is the idea they have and this is
Yeah,
exactly what they want,
yeah,
no questions asked. But when I see something and I can make it better or it can make it more effective, more manufacturable, I
yeah.
want to say something, and sometimes they're not really receptive to it.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah,
and part of me I just don't. That was another aspect of my business where I kind of want to be a design consultant as well, and not just here's a 3D
that's
file.
important because otherwise you can just design based on what they told you, but it doesn't always work in the marketplace.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. Because I've had some inventors reach out and they're like, "Can you make this?" I'm like, "Yeah, but have you thought of XYZ?" And then we just did a whole brainstorming discussion, and it was so fun.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
we came up with like a better solution just by bouncing
And
ideas.
you can also extend that to the next level. If you don't know already, with Amazon, there's a lot of open source software you can use to scrape Amazon's data. For example, for different keyword, what was the search demand? How much is each of the competitor currently selling on a monthly basis? What is their review count? How well is the listing optimized? And is the product like this already similar and already existing on Amazon? Because Amazon, let's face it, is the biggest online marketplaces, and you can see people's review. Everything is like open source, so that would be a great place to do product like validation for the client you are working with as well. So
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, because I've pitched some ideas to some companies and they wanted me to give them a selling case for, is this going to be popular or a good seller on Amazon, because
Yeah.
when they do their own research, they're like, well, this market looks saturated, or
Yeah.
we don't really see a fit for Amazon because there's not like keywords, or it's
Yeah.
not really easily searchable. And
Exactly.
so
And that's
it's
what we do for all the client we work with. Before we even start working with them, the number one thing we do is a competition analysis in the entire marketplace, trying to find the closest like lookalike product and see how those products are currently doing. So because just like you mentioned, if the product doesn't already have existing search demand, you need to create them,
yep.
which is really, really hard to create them. I can actually also give you a live example of one of the toy we launched 5 years ago. It's our fidget marble maze. When we first launched it, we are the first one on Amazon. No one have ever, launched. We didn't really invent it, so to speak. It was already available, but just not on Amazon yet. So we are kind of the first to market. So when we first started, the search volume is zero. No one even know what a fidget marble maze is. So we did a lot of digital marketing, Facebook ads, Instagram ads. Over the year, we create our own search volume for that particular product, and we are still like one of the number one seller as of today on Amazon right now, despite after all this year. Because when we do the initial research and do the product launch, that's so important. And I think what was part of what you do, if you can also add that to part of your consultation. If you don't know how to do it, I'll teach you how to do it. It's not too hard to do those marketing research as well. And that will really help with the inventor, because sometimes a lot of inventor, they are the creative type. They are not a marketing, and they don't know, they
Right.
don't understand numbers. So, and that's so important for the long-term success of any kind of toys that they design.
I
So,
agree.
and the next question I have for you is, because you have like various experience of working with individual inventor and also with bigger companies. How is working with inventor, like individual inventor, different from working with the larger corporations?
I have found, I think it depends. Larger companies, I found it's easier, at least with like the payment processing systems. Usually they already have something set up, or they have their own payment processing. So it's just very streamlined and done. The negative side of larger companies, I feel like they have tighter timelines.
Hmm.
Um, so they're either like meeting a deadline or something. But with inventors, I found them to be more flexible, and just really fun to work with because I resonate with them a lot. But
Hmm.
the downside is, definitely you can't be paid as much, because I don't want to overcharge inventors. Um, and um, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think you also shared with the audience earlier, but do you have any other memorable project where 3D printing make a significant impact in the whole design process?
Hmm. Well, I talked about that watch idea, which was one of
Yes.
my
Yeah.
favorites.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. I'm looking at the prototypes around my office. Um, I think it just helps make a proof of concept prototype.
Hmm.
Um, 'Cause I'm trying to think. Like this is one example I have in front of me.
Okay.
Um, so this was a 3D printed like crayon holder device. I don't know if you can
Oh,
see.
okay.
And
Yeah.
so it's even able to make like these little like ridges, and so you can kind of just pop it on like that. Because the concept is you can, draw. I don't have all the crayons, and you can kind of draw and scribble, like a palm grip, and just.
Ah, got it. Got it. Got it. Interesting.
But
Okay.
in the top, I don't. It's not real, but it's supposed to be a crayon sharpener. So like when
Oh, okay. There's a
yeah,
sharpener on top too. Okay.
so if you take one out,
Yeah.
you'll like, okay, I'm sharpening it, and then you'll like dump out all the shavings, and then you'll
Yeah.
put it back on.
Oh, whoa. Pretty
Um,
cool.
and so it was really cool. Like it just sits like this, and it printed, and this is what the inside what it
Oh,
looks
okay. This
like.
whole thing is 3D printed.
Yeah, so it's just like two pieces,
I see.
and so it's really cool. But I got a lot of feedback on it. one, this is not manufacturable because
Oh, really? Why not?
you cannot injection mold this because of these cutouts and slits.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay,
But
okay.
I didn't know it either because I didn't
Yeah,
know this is what they were thinking of injection mold. I was thinking some other type of manufacturing method. So
yeah.
I think I did pitch this to Crayola because of the crayons, and that's what they said. It wasn't manufacturable.
Oh, whoa.
And the market was a little bit saturated for like crayon devices.
I see. I see.
And so it was something about the age range. It was this is too young for an older kid and it's too old for a younger kid. It was a
Okay.
weird mix up.
Real mixed. Okay, okay. Interesting
Um,
problem. Okay,
but I got some
got
good
it.
feedback. Some people mentioned, instead of the crayon sliding inside, because if the crayon gets really, really short, say for example, like this,
Oh, you
it's
won't work. You will push in right inside.
yes, it'll need like some type of like spring or
Spring.
something.
Yeah, to hold it out. Yeah. Okay.
Or are the crayons have like a snap fit on the outside? So there's like a
Mm,
clip or something.
I see.
So
Okay.
different ideas.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
from that, I had another inventor reach out to me when I presented this idea. I'm actually 3D printing this right now. He thought of this tripod method with his kids because, um, let me just kind of explain it. Let me get one more
Is
crayon.
it also crayon too?
Yeah, it's also crayons.
Oh, it's also crayon. Okay, okay. Interesting.
And so when his kids, this is the wrong size. I'm still 3D printing the correct size. When his
Yeah.
kids would use crayons in the car or something, they just go flying everywhere. He
Yeah.
thought of a way to try to keep all the crayons together,
Yeah.
but still be able to use it. And so it's like this tripod thing. So
Oh.
it's literally just this. And this is a flexible resin. It's called TPU, so you can kind of squish it.
Hmm. Okay, okay.
But you'll put the crayons inside.
I see.
And so, well, I have the wrong tolerance. I'm
Yeah.
fixing it. I promise.
Yeah,
It's on
yeah.
my 3D printer right now. But you're supposed to like grab it and you can like draw with it. But it's like a simpler version basically of this without a sharpener.
Ah,
Um,
interesting. Okay, okay. Is
so
that a same inventor or is it a different inventor? They just come up with similar idea.
is this what?
Are those two products coming from the same inventor or are they two different inventors?
So this was my idea.
Oh, that's your idea.
This was
Okay,
my
okay,
idea,
got
yeah.
it. Oh,
And then
okay.
this was an inventor. He reached out to me on LinkedIn and he was like, you can run with it, have fun with it. Like, he's like, I'm not attached to the idea. So I feel comfortable talking about it in front of you because
Oh, I see.
he
Okay.
opened it up to me. So I was working on this today and
I see. I see.
I'm
But it's also going back to the thing you mentioned earlier. Is there actually a market for this kind of item, right? Um,
right.
because I watched a YouTube channel where the guy all he does is invent unnecessary product.
Yes,
And he
I
does
love
video
that
about it.
guy.
And
Yeah,
he like all kind of weird product like this like spinner you can eat pizza with or some weird stuff that is not really necessary, but it looked pretty cool, but no one probably gonna buy it.
mhm.
So yeah.
Sometimes I feel like even though he intends for them to be unnecessary, they are necessary. I'm like, actually, I kind of want to buy that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you know what I mean, right? Sometimes the inventor feel like, oh, this is a cool idea, this is gonna be awesome. But when you actually go to market, cricket, no one buy. Then you waste
Exactly.
all the time and energy and money into the invention. So
Mhm.
I guess the next question I have is what type of challenge do you usually face as a freelancer as a designer in the toy industry?
I think one is having a consistent income.
Oh,
When you don't work for corporate, you don't have like your biweekly
yeah,
salary, stuff like that. So
true.
I think getting clients and just being consistent and
Hmm.
even like reporting your income, because some people are like, "What's your yearly salary?" And I'm like, "I don't know because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
consistent."
I face a similar challenge as entrepreneur. We're all self-employed, so it's kind of hard to say, okay, in 2024, I'm going to make this much. I don't really
Yeah,
know if I make double that or if I make less than that. So
exactly.
yeah.
The other thing is getting paid. I've sadly had a company not pay me.
Oh no.
and it's like $3,000. And
Oh
so it was when I was first starting off.
yeah.
I just signed an NDA. I didn't really have a contract, but everything
Yeah.
was written in email. And I did work for them. I did a ton of 3D printing work for them.
Hmm.
And I sent them invoice after invoice after invoice, and they just are ignoring me and not
Mm.
paying me. And I've had to get like legal involved. And so that's
Oh,
been kind of
sorry to hear that.
stressful. I did not expect that to happen because
Yeah.
industry is just so like such a community and such a family. I
Yeah.
feel like I could trust everyone. And so I feel like I'm definitely going to have to look out for myself in the future and just have a
Yeah.
contract in place to protect me.
Okay.
And um,
And I'll definitely correct a deposit before you even start working at all. So
right. Yeah,
yeah.
I didn't have like a deposit or anything up front. I was just, I'll do the work, and I was, trusting they would pay me and nothing.
Yeah.
So it's
I
been like
see.
6 months since I finished the work, and they're just ignoring me. So, um,
Okay. Sorry to hear
so
that. So yeah, that's part of entrepreneurship.
it
It seems
is.
like it happened.
I got to
So
be honest. So,
yeah, yeah, of course.
Mhm.
So the next question I have is, how do you stay current and stay like inspired to make sure your design is fresh and also innovative?
I love just walking down the toy aisle. I go to
Mhm.
Target or Walmart to grab a few things, and then I make a detour. I'm like, let me just walk down the aisle real quick and see what's going on.
I see. Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's really fun. Or I go down to like mom and pop, like little small stores, because I feel like they
Mhm.
usually have unique things you don't really see in Walmart, like the
Mm.
specialty toy stores,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah,
is really fun.
yeah.
Um, Obviously, social media. Every time I see an Instagram reel or something that looks like a really fun game, I'll like save it or
Mhm.
something. And just staying on top of trends. I get, email chains from like the toy industry of, what's
Mhm.
trending, and I jump on Zoom calls. They go over the toy trends of 2024, 2025. So I hop
Mhm.
onto those.
Mhm.
Um, and honestly, I just continue to like network with other inventors, ask them questions, brainstorm together,
Mhm.
and just talk to people in my community. And if they have kids, I just pay attention to what they're playing with or what they like
Yeah,
nowadays.
sure.
Um,
Or you
so
can listen to our podcast too, right?
yes.
Yeah. So as well, kind of winding down in today's interview, the last question I usually ask all the guests is, what advice will you give someone that's starting out in the toy industry right now?
um, I always am a huge advocate for building your network.
Hmm.
Um, LinkedIn has been my best friends, but
Hmm.
honestly, just finding the right people to be your mentors and people to learn from, I think is going to be your biggest crutch.
Hmm.
And even just joining any organization you can be a part of to learn. So I joined Women in Toys very early on in my career,
Okay.
and I got a mentor, and I listened to a lot of webinars or like morning chats, coffee chats, something
Hmm.
like that, and just connecting with people in the industry. I've learned so much,
Hmm.
and also listening to podcasts. So,
Yeah.
AKA like get Toy Launch podcast. I've listened to Agile Wade's
Oh
podcast.
yes, I listen to hers
Um,
too. Yes.
I
Yeah.
think just gaining as much knowledge as you can and
Mhm.
meeting as many people as you can.
Yeah.
Um, and if you have a toy idea, there's a lot of people I meet who feel, not capable of making a toy because they don't have the engineering background, they don't have the design background, or,
Mhm.
say they come from like computer science background or, something that's not really translatable.
I come from finance background, by the
There
way.
you go.
So
Yeah, I
yeah.
would just encourage those to don't let the voices overcome you and tell you, "Oh, this is stupid," or "Oh, this is ugly." Just make it
Mhm.
and just throw it in front of a kid, and if they love it, you've got a winner, you know?
Yeah, that's a very good piece of
Mhm.
advice. Just do some. I test all my new prototype with my kids. That's they are my
Yes.
product tester. So
Put
yeah,
it in front of kids and let them be the judge
yeah,
because
for
you
sure.
just might be surprised. You never know.
For sure, for sure. So it was my honor to have you as a guest on my podcast. And where can the audience find you and find all the different work you are doing?
Yes. So my website is designbyshy.com, and
Okay.
Hsieh is Chey.
Mhm.
Or my LinkedIn, Cheyenne Raker, LinkedIn, Design by Hsieh. And then my email is contact@designbyshy.com. So any of those platforms, I look at them daily and would be happy to connect with anyone that's interested in
Mhm.
learning or just more interested about the toy industry or
Mhm.
freelancing or anything. I'm happy to talk to anybody.
Got it. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with the audience today. And we'll make sure we put all those links that you mentioned in the show note as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.